All right. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm excited to be back and welcoming you back to the Donut Shop Cop, the podcast. This is your one stop destination where we delve into the captivating world of real estate investing, sprinkled with the irresistible aroma of my favorite freshly baked donuts, because I'm just a little fat kid at heart. And I am your host, Chris, along with my partner, Andy. And together, we're going to take you on this cool journey with us in the Donut Shop Cop. So, Andy, why don't you tell them a little bit about Donut Shop Cop, the podcast, and how we got started?
Oh man, I think I got arrested and you found me at a donut shop. I'm not really.
That's probably well. You can. I'm a little fat kid. So you can always find me probably in a donut shop or eating donuts somewhere. That's a fair point.
Oh man, no, we met at a mastermind group, and you had a vision, and I was like, I've been working in the TV industry for a long time. I've done marketing, graphics, the whole nine yards, and so we brainstormed on this idea. And then came up with our tagline to protect and serve your investments. And I'm like, holy crap, let's just do this and show cops and, of all ages, how they can like retire and live the dream of, they dreamed of living, right? Because their pension's not going to cut it.
I agree. And that's how Dumb and Dumber got invented right here. So, so before I share kind of what Andy was talking about, what my vision is from cop to investor, I have to introduce my badass sister investor from another mastermind, Miss Kalisha Carter. How are you, girl?
Hey guys, like y'all are making me laughing so much. Like I can feel my cheekbones. But it feels so good to be on this show. I can know like this is gonna be a great show. We haven't even dived in yet, and I'm like, man, I'm ready.
That's ready. Awesome. That's awesome. So where are you based? Tell everyone where you're based out of. Where are you based out of?
So I am based in Tampa, Florida. But it's sunny here, but hella hot.
Yeah. It's sunny here in California, but hella cool right now.
Yeah, we got air conditioning because of the ocean.
It's so hot. I'm a Jamaican by heart. I was born and raised in Jamaica, got to US and started focusing on real estate in terms of fix and flip, switched my strategy and started buying rental properties across the US using creative financing. And then realized that, hey, I need to find a way how to get more money because the bank has left me at the closing table twice when I was doing a refinance. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? I need to learn the skill of raising private capital. And that's how I found Amy Majori, how I met Chris as well. So I think hand in hand, knowing how to raise private capital, knowing how to purchase properties using creative finance and putting those two together has helped me to acquire the amount of properties that I have today. And I've done the amount of collaborations that I've done as well. It's all because of those skill sets.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. That's awesome. So are you a full-time investor?
Full-time. Quit my job last year. And I was like, bye-bye restaurant world.
Nice.
What about donut shops?
Yeah, donuts. Can you open a donut shop for us?
One of the things is I love donuts. Like it's one pastry I love. I can leave the gym and I'm passing a donut shop and I was like, I just need two.
Yeah, I mean, sprinkles are my jam. Sprinkles or anything chocolate. Well, there's jelly filled too, so you can't forget those.
Plain Jane. I'm just give me a glazed donut and I'm good. No sweet.
I'm an everything bagel. Oh, I'm sorry.
So before we dive in and we forget, obviously you are the host of an awesome podcast of your own, you and your partner Betsy. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about that? What's the name of the podcast and kind of what you guys do?
So just like you guys, we just had an idea and we're just gonna dive in, and we started about 2 months ago. And our podcast is called Money Mondays. It started just doing a live episode every Monday, just sharing with our audience how people are raising capital and investing with purpose. So the idea is for us is to create a space where persons can listen to our show and hear the different strategies, techniques that persons are raising private capital, whether it's for real estate. I mean, we're in real estate, but also for buying businesses or whatever it is, but also those capital that you're raising, you're doing it for something with a purpose. Which even it blossomed into us doing more interviews because we realized that there's a demand for it. So we just started a whole YouTube channel in general.
Awesome.
About anything raising capital, sharing our process or journey with raising capital, or wins or losses with the world.
That's awesome. So if you're listening, go out, follow Mondays right after you click on Donut Shop Cop, click on Mondays. Do that second, not first. Do it second.
I have an idea. They could start their Monday morning with a donut and then go over to Monday. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Mind blown. There you go. Mind blown.
There you go.
I got a whole host of questions, Andy, but I've been talking too much. I'm sure you got a question or two, and if you don't, I will fire away.
So I really want to know how, you guys came together, right? Like Chris and I came together, right? So I know that we're all part of RPM, right, as well, and that's how I met you as well. But what was it that attracted the both of you to each? What was the why, right?
So the why was, so long story short, we're a part of Sub2 community with Pace Morby. But we didn't met each other that way. Where we joined another mastermind program called it's a high performance coaching program with Keston Gaslow. And during one of a part of our session, we have to break down our goals or why, and we dive deep into. It's like a personal development coaching program. And I shared what I was doing. She shared, and I think after that call, she texted me and she's like, "Hey, we need to chat because what you're doing is something I want to get into and I want to see." And this is what I always loved about her. She was like, "How can I bring value to you?"
Wow, that's great.
It was insane. And then we hopped on a phone call this Saturday, and I was like, "Hey, this is where I want to go. I'm not good with delegating, because I don't like bossing people around or anything like that. But
you boss me around all the time." You were telling me when to post, how to post. Come on.
Yeah, you're good.
I love it that way. But I was like, this is what I'm struggling with in my business, and I need that help. And my coach was like, Keston was like, "Hey, this is what you need to do. You need to find someone." I'm like, ugh. And when we connected, she's like, "Hey, I'm good with this. I can take this off your plate."
Yeah, she's amazing.
She is amazing. Like after that, we just dive in, and up to this day, and I can be having a tough day, and I can get a message, "Hey, I know you're doing a lot. What can I take off your plate?"
That's awesome.
That's
really
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's the power of collaboration, and that's the power of a network, right? I mean, we talk about that all the time on this show. We talk about it all the time with everyone else. And I mean, the three of us, right, are part of RPM with Amy and Sean, and it's life-changing in that regard. And so that's kind of how Andy and I got together too. And everybody adds value, right?
Yes.
Somewhere, everybody adds a bit of value. So let me ask you this. So our goal is to add value to cops, right? That's really what my why is right now. Obviously, I have my family whys, but my real why too is just if I can help these younger cops or middle-aged cops or older cops, if they can invest, even just a little bit, if they can invest, how do they get started, right? And so I know you do a lot of subject to, and you do a lot of rentals and all that kind of thing. So what would you tell a cop that has, like 30K or 40K or maybe the 50K max that they're borrowing out of a 401K, right?
Yeah.
Could you use them as a private money lender?
So yes, I could always use the money.
Right after me, remember, right as number 2, right?
I'm always raising capital, so I could always use it. But I would say like the first thing, especially if you have no background in real estate investing, get around people who are. You guys are doing it. You're in the same industry, and I find cops relate to cops, right? So you guys are doing it. A new cop can come and pick you guys' brain. Hey, so how do you approach this? How do you approach that? That way you kind of start getting an understanding of what is happening. You don't have to learn it fully, but at least you have an understanding to invest, because at the end of the day, even if you should invest, you still do your own homework. Don't rely on the investor to give you all of that. And I would say once you start building that rapport with that investor who's hands-on, you go to the person like, "Hey, this is what I have. What can you do? Here's what I could recommend. You have $20,000 to $30,000. To keep it super simple, you're a completely newbie. Get into a simple transaction. Maybe you do a lending that's 6 months or 3 months or 12 months. And when you do that, you do a standard 10, 12%. Some persons can be greedy, 15. And I say greedy because I've seen it.
Right.
But the idea is for your first transaction, you want to learn the process.
Absolutely.
Go through the entire process, see what it's like. You won't be rich or wealthy from that, but you're starting with that 20 to 30. Maybe you have 80,000. But you start off with that 20 to 30. You're testing out that investor to see how well they work, if they're trustworthy, if they're credible. And from that, you're like, okay, I get a hang of it. Let's do the next one.
Right.
But the goal for 20 to 30 is just to get started, not to be rich from it.
Yeah, so I do have a question for you as well. So you guys use social media a lot.
Yes.
So talk about how that helps you grow your business, right? Because we're in that world now, right? And we have Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, all of those things available to us, which people didn't have in the past. You guys are experts. I've watched your stuff, and I'm like, when I grow up, you know, and I have a franchise of donut shop cop businesses, I want to be like you guys.
Listen, it's I wouldn't say expert. It's still a lot, and best believe it's just me and Betsy.
Right.
So full disclaimer, we don't have a full team or anything. We recently just got a VA to chop up the videos that we have. But I have a marketing background, and I have a digital.
Oh, that's what it is. It's a marketing background. All right, I'm hiring you.
So
I tried that. She's expensive, bro. And she yells at you like you yell at me. She yells at me like you do.
The first time I yelled at Chris.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you need to do this now.
Get your phone. She said, get your phone out right now. That's what she said. She goes, get your phone out, and I want you to take a video, and I want you to hit play, and that's what you're doing right now.
And now that's how he's doing, and he realizes it's that easy. I told him, hey, once you get into it, you're like, oh, this is not that bad. Like,
right?
It's not.
But it pretty much is when you got a face for radio like me. Like nobody wants to look at this guy. Like, Alicia, you know, everybody. I'm buff, right? So bald, ugly, and fat. That's what it is.
Oh my God.
You're hilarious. Oh my God. But a lot of persons that would look on social media and be like, it's hard. But in this day and age that we're in, everyone is on it. Whatever age you are, it just depends on the platform. And the first thing, like if you meet someone, you're going to Google them.
Absolutely.
You want to see, you're either going Google, you want to go under LinkedIn, you want something, whatever platform you use more. And so the social media really helps to build your credibility.
Absolutely.
So we look at it as we used to look at it as, okay, we want to build a business. We want to generate sales. Yes, that is the end goal. But I think the more we get into it, we're like, we want to provide more value, and we will really want to build our credibility.
Yep.
That's what I was getting at right there, Alicia.
Yeah.
From that,
and it's just being present, right? It's not like you said, it's not always selling something. It's just being you, being present, being real, right? So like for me, it's they've got to see the dad, the husband, the cop, and the investor, right? They've got to see that whole picture, because then you start getting calls out of the blue, like, you know, like I did just the other day, right? All of a sudden I get a call from an old friend saying, and we haven't talked in probably years, right? But he's a really good friend and teammate that I played with and coached with. And then he's like, hey, dude, I've been watching you on social media. Like, what is it you're doing, right? Like, and that's a cool feeling, right? When it actually starts to materialize.
It's so good. And I found private money lenders who can tell me, hey, I've been watching you on social media. I've been following you, and I go on their page because I love Instagram more than anything else. And I was like, okay, I'm not following them, and they don't post. They're not liking my stuff. When I check my stories, they're not viewing it, but they're seeing everything that I'm doing. Or someone will see your pitch deck. So we advertise our opportunities that we have. And persons would reach out and be like, oh my God, I love your deck. It's so detailed. I am a lender. And I'm like, what?
There you go. So I want to build on this, because when we went to RPM back in Long Beach, right? Yeah. You guys had a booth set up. You were like I was so impressed with that. And I know we're hitting the social media thing for a while, but there's a reason, right? Because part of what we do as investors is we have to get out there. We have to market who we are so that people recognize that we're experts in our field and they trust us. And like you were just saying, is like this person that reached out to you, you already had that rep going for you, right? The
Yeah.
credit. And you guys literally set up your own thing. That was awesome. So talk about that a little bit.
And you know what I'm gonna tell you? That everything was so last minute.
Was it?
It was less than 2 weeks.
Wow. That's
Literally,
amazing.
like less than 2 weeks, and Amy reached out. Amy was like, "Huh, we're just chatting," and then in that conversation, she was like, "Girl, you should set up the podcast." And I'm like, "What?"
Really?
Yeah.
That is so Amy too. That is so Amy. Like, girl, come on, girl. Like, you got this.
That was so her. And I'm like, Amy, no. What am I going to talk about? What are we going to do? She's like, girl, I don't know. Figure it out.
That's Amy.
That is so
like,
Amy.
You're setting up the podcast. And I'm like, yeah, I'll think about it. And I think the Friday before the conference, I was like, Amy, okay, fine. We're going to do this. And when I tell you, we went on Canva, worked on a banner, went through Vistaprint, printed that banner, and we're like, okay, we're good to go. We're gonna figure out. At that time, we didn't have the microphone or nothing, and we're like, you know what? We're just gonna work with what we have and ask around.
Well,
that's awesome.
But the
that's
return
awesome.
on investment. Sorry,
that's just like the value of a mentor, though, right? And I can picture Amy's face and her voice literally on the screen in front of me, like she is every other week, right? Where when I just talk to her and she just always looks at me, she's like, well, just do it. Like, just do it. Like, stop messing around. Like, just make the phone call. Like, just set it up. And she doesn't care about the details. She doesn't care how you're going to figure it out. She just wants you to do it, right? And then good things happen. So she has done that to me quite a bit.
Well, so the point I was getting at to that, and I always have a point to why I asked the question. What was your return on investment in just doing that, right?
Honestly, it's the credibility.
Yeah.
I won't see it now, but I will see it later.
Yep.
And even after that, we got a lot of exposure just from that. It doesn't have to be 1,000 persons, but more persons got to know us. So we left that event with at least 100 people know who Kalisha and Betsy are. They know about our podcast and know what we're focusing on. So for us, it's just the credibility and the exposure.
Okay. And that's huge. And to Andy's point, right, is that's a big piece of it, right? As you get started, because when I got started in real estate, probably when the two of you did as well, I'll let you chime in, but everything was me, right? How can I go find a deal? How can I raise the money for this deal? And now it's, how can we go do this, right? Like, how can I get other people involved? And a lot of time I think that throws new cops off or new investors off, because with that mentality that you're not used to it, it's kind of scammy, right? It kind of feels too good to be true. Like, why would they give me to, if this person's worth $5 million, why would they just not pay for it themselves? And my answer to them always is everybody makes money, right? Everybody's going to win. This is a win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for the investor with the deal, and it's a win for the private money lender on the backside, and it's a win for the seller, because the seller gets out of whatever situation they were in. And so, with that thinking, though, as you get more credible and you get bigger and your business grows, you want more people involved, because the more people involved, the more everybody makes together. And that's a mind shift thing. That's totally different than just the start.
I'm in the stage now, guys, where I don't want to do anything alone. And a lot of persons need to understand, like, you realize when you start out, of course you're gonna start out doing it alone. You're gonna wear all the hats, but when you start do that one partnership, that two partnership, you're like, oh, this is off my shoulders. I don't gotta worry about that. But I'm scaling, and I don't have to struggle and do everything. Now I don't want to do anything on my own.
Right.
The properties that I've acquired in the past 6 months since I joined Amy and Subject 2, they're all partnership. Because the more you get into it, you're like, okay, I don't like finding deals anymore. I hate that. I don't like the acquisition sort of it. I like raising capital. That's my skill set. You have persons who love finding deals, but they don't want to raise capital. So we come together, we divide and conquer. We're like a powerhouse. So collaboration is key.
And Andy, you can speak to that. I know because you're part of bigger partnerships when you buy multifamily and homes and just the multifamily apartments, right?
Well, so from a standpoint, I'm right there with you, Kalisha. I mean, underwriting is great, and I can do it. I have to keep telling myself I love numbers, and numbers love me. It's a little song I play in my head because literally I had 5 deals dropped in my lap 2 days ago, and I had no time to do any of it. We're hiring a VA as well, which is the best thing you could possibly do it at the level that we're getting to. Yeah. But I honestly, I mean, I love this, right? I love going out and changing people's lives and when they're saying to me, my money's tied up, I'm like, well, how tied up is it? I mean, is it in your cellar? Is it locked in a is it have tape over its mouth? I mean, how locked up are we talking right now?
That's a crime. Don't do that. That's the cop in me, dude. You can't do that.
So I'm like, understand something. This is what I tell people. And I went to Dealmaker Live in Dallas a couple of weeks ago. And the best thing I heard at that, you walk away with nuggets, right? Every time we go to these things and they cost us money, but there's a reason why we're paying for it, right? Yeah. Because there's value in what we pay for. And there were a bunch of nuggets, but the nuggets I walked away from with this one person said on stage was money wants to work. Right? That's so Kalisha, like when you're talking to people, you're excited about that because you're changing their future, right?
You know what's crazy? You're talking about that, and I went to get lunch at this Jamaican restaurant. I'm like, I'm just gonna get lunch at the bar, go. No conversation.
Did you get jerk pork or jerk chicken?
Jerk chicken.
Yeah. See, that's my jam. See, my wife and I got engaged. We've been to Jamaica 3 times. We got engaged in Jamaica. We went back for our honeymoon in Jamaica, and we've been back since. So
I was home, and I'm like, yeah, my lunch today, I need some real food. So I went to this restaurant, and I'm sitting at the bar, and two older gentlemen, they're sitting down chatting, and we started talking. And I think I was like, okay, the pitch almost came in. Because I'm like, Kalisha, you're on break. Don't break. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have a conversation. I'm not bringing up anything.
You're never on break. You're never on break.
No. Nothing. So we're just talking. Found out from just listening to them. They're also Jamaicans, been in the military for years. Like I'm talking like over 20 years. And they have their own businesses and everything like that. And they're like, what do you do? And I was like, well, because of the setting that we're in, I was like, you know what?
Let's hear it. Let's hear the pitch.
Yeah, right.
I was like, well, this is what I do. I just focus on buying rental properties by partnering with other persons. I kept it. I didn't even add the double digit.
Okay.
So they're like, nah.
I know what you were going for.
Yeah. So the reason why I didn't add the double digit just because of how the conversation was going. So I just stopped right there. They're like, oh, really? And they started telling me about that they're looking to buy a home with their VA loan and they want to get into it and blah, blah, blah. And that's how now I pivot. Because I start realizing that sometimes depending on the conversation, you know how to approach it from a different angle because you don't want to come off that you're selling. You want to show that you're bringing value. So I'm like, oh, wow. My partner is also in the military. I gave an example. I have a private money lender who's in the military and thought about using a VA loan to buy a home. But their issue is they're always changing locations and they don't want to manage it. So they came to me and be like, hey, if you have something, let's partner.
Right.
So I'm like planting the seeds right there. So again, it goes back and I was like, man, I'm in my element. I like connecting and talk. I like having these conversations. I don't like underwriting, but at the same time, I will underwrite because if I'm raising capital, I'm not at a level where I would trust someone to underwrite a deal for me. I need to underwrite and understand that number so I'm able to
absolutely
to that investor. This is what it looks like, and this is what I know because I'm the one who did it. This is the worst case scenario. I found my numbers, but I'm like you, Andy. I don't like underwriting.
Well, that's why you got to sing that song. I love numbers, and numbers love me.
So let me ask you this, Kalisha. We've talked about this. You and I have talked about this on the phone numerous times because we do a very similar strategy for kind of our long-term holds and how we buy subject to. So my audience hears it from me, but I want them to hear it from you. So I've got $35,000. I'm a new cop. We've already built trust between me and you, or between me and them, and I bring them to you. Walk me through kind of one of your deals, and it doesn't have to be too complex. Keep it very high level, right? Walk me through how my $30,000 is going to benefit me and what kind of return I'm going to get as a new cop with $30,000 or $40,000.
Perfect. I have a perfect deal. So hey, let's use you, Andy. Andy, you're a cop with a 330. Hey, Andy, I have this project in Florida. It's gonna be a fix and flip. We're purchasing this for $100. The rehab is gonna be $50, and it's gonna take us about 3 to 4 months to renovate this property, but we just need the loan for 6 months. And the reason why we need the loan for 6 months is that we need time for it when it goes on market for the end buyer to sell. And just in case anything happens, we have enough wiggle room and time to repay. We just need $30,000. It's for 6 months and we're paying you 10% interest.
Wow. Okay.
What that looks like is, and it's not 10% annualized. For us, it's 10% flat. Your amount is going to be $100. That's going to be your return on investment. And I know you might be wondering, yeah, I don't know you like that. What if you die? What if you take my money? Well, Andy, here's what we do. We provide different documentations.
Really? Okay. Tell me about that.
It's protected. So let's say, I don't know if you've ever heard about promissory note or anything like that. Normally that promissory note is just a paper. We can write that paper with a crayon, whatever it is. Andy and Kalisha agree to lend X amount of money for X time for X% interest. That's fine. But let's say, Andy, I decide to run away. How do you know you're going to get your money back? Then, Andy, we give you another document. It's called a recorded mortgage or deed. It depends on your state, right? Because every state calls it different.
Right.
What that document does, it gives you security. So God forbid if I die and that house is sold, you have a lien against that property. So your money is protected. Look at it, Andy. If you go to a home, you go to a bank rather, and you want to get a loan, who has the mortgage? You or the bank. Okay. So the bank owns it. You don't own it. You're paying a mortgage. And what happens when you don't pay your money? What does the bank do?
Take that asset away from me.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they give you notice. They give you multiple notice. If you don't abide by the notice, they're taking it away from you. Andy, in this case, with our partnership, you are the bank.
Wow. Never looked at it like that before.
That's pretty cool. So it's protected, it's secured, and it's insured. Yep.
That's it. And everything, Andy, all the paperwork is done by an attorney.
Amazing.
That's awesome. No, thank you for doing that, because they hear it from me a lot, right? Because cops hear it from me a lot, so they hear the protected, insured, secured, and insured. Because we have the same values, the same beliefs. All three of us do on the call here, so they always hear that, right? But it's always good to hear from different investors to make sure, because that's how you build trust. And like you said earlier, that's where you start small, right? Real estate is not a get rich quick type of investment, but it is definitely a generate wealth over time investment, right? It takes time to get in, but I don't think what people realize is that it does compound itself so fast, right? It's a blink, and it feels like forever when you're talking a year or 2 years. That seems like so long, but then you just watch your money grow, right? And it's pretty cool once that happens. So,
and it's funny too. I'm not afraid to turn down private money lenders. Because even if you have $30,000 and I could need it, man, I need $30,000 right now for a deal. But if I'm talking to you and you're coming off as you're going to be super controlling, or you're like, I know you need my money and you're going to be an ass about it, I'm like, hey, you know what? This deal may not be a good fit for us to work together.
There you go.
And that's why you're a badass investor right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I will turn it down. No, because for me, this is not. I'm trying to build a relationship with you. We want to grow together. So I don't want you to be like one deal, that's it. I want when you lend me money, I pay you back. We put it into another deal. Who knows? You start building that amount, and you're like, hey, I want to own right now. I want to be your capital partner. And we just start growing together. So I'm all about the relationship part of that too.
I love the role playing thing. That was awesome. I mean, truly, that is the best way to teach people. What you just did is we're gonna have you on every week.
Yeah.
I came up with that strategy because I was talking to a mom and pop, and I'm like, okay, how the hell do I explain a lean position second? I was like, you know what? Let's just use the bank because it's the same thing, but a lot of persons are not thinking about it that way.
No, they're not.
Literally the same thing, but
right.
It's a good example.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Andy, we're almost at the 30-minute mark. So what does that mean for you, buddy? That means I'm getting hungry for more donut holes.
Well, wait. We got to show everybody that comes onto the show is going to get this. You see that? Look at that.
Oh, guys, I love that.
Yeah. So
I don't drink coffee, Kalisha, because it stunts your growth, and I'm already a little guy, as you know. So
yeah.
But Chris, I have to have my coffee every day.
You get a mug. You get a mug from Andy and I. So we'll put that in the mail. So when we're done here, text me your address or text it to me and Andy or me, and then I'll send it to Andy, and then we can get you a mug.
I love that. Thank you, guys.
Well, now we have to have your partner come on so she can get a mug.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And she was like, "What are you doing it for?" Because she has access to my schedule. She's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm talking to Chris and Andy."
She's like, "Why are you doing that without me?"
She was like, "I'm at a kid's party. Have fun." Yeah. Literally her. And I'm like, "Oh my
She's
God.
like, it doesn't mean anything. I love you. This is just
She's like, have fun. I was like, yeah. I was like, she's good. She's good. She's amazing.
Well, now you can tell her how awesome this is, right? And she needs to come on too, right?
It feels good to be on the other side.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I was on one yesterday, and that kind of blew me away. I'm like, this is kind of freaking cool. Where, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's really freaking cool that we're also. What I love about this, and I know we got to go soon, but what I love about this community, and I spoke about this yesterday on the podcast I was at with Brian Briscoe, is we are looking out for each other, and the world isn't doing that. Yeah. Right. I work in a very cutthroat business in my W-2. You got to quit. I'm getting there, but this world supports each other. We want to see each other grow and succeed. And I'm like, mind blown. Mm-hmm. Right. It's just a different level of thinking. And that's what I love about this.
And the thing is, if you do bad to someone else in the same industry, someone is going to hear about it. So you're going to damage your reputation either way. So you're going to be forced to do good.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. All right. So we have a way of taking us out. I'm putting Chris in the spotlight now. So we're going to take us out.
Yep. That's how we sign off almost the same way. I say almost the same way every time, Kalisha, because it's me. So it changes every time. But it's how we do it in the business. But Andy and I want to thank you for being a guest. It's always great to have knowledgeable people on to share their knowledge and drop some beats for all of our viewers. But with that, I will tell everybody to go follow and subscribe to our channel, Donut Shop Cop, the podcast. But just remember, until then, stay safe, stay curious, and never underestimate the power of one good donut. And with that, we are officially 1010 signing out.